Dr. Shaki Ullah from Fayetteville State University in the USA. I would then like to introduce Dr. Shaki Ullah from the Fayetteville State University in the US, who will be speaking on the applications of blockchain in real estate finance and management.
All right, it's a pleasure to be here for the second time in the same conference and same room. I attended this conference in 2020, right before the pandemic, and I loved that experience and the networking and everything. So when recently, like a couple of months ago, I received the invitation from Dr. Haroon to come and talk on a topic of finance. I suggested to him that I will talk about the applications of blockchain technology in real estate, and he loved the idea. And the reason behind selecting that topic is that we have recently received a grant from the state of North Carolina to conduct some research on blockchain and financial technologies. We also received $500,000 from JP Morgan to establish a fintech center. And blockchain is going to one of the sectors that we're going to work on. So we're already active in this area, and I decided to talk about the applications of the technology into the real estate sector. I'll just specify a few of the problems that exist in the real estate industry, and then I hope that everybody knows something about, at least something about blockchain technology. And then I will talk about how we can use that technology to solve some of those problems in the real estate industry. And then I'll just briefly introduce a few of the prominent startups, businesses that have already started working using the same technology, and they are solving the real estate problems that we talk about. So the point here is that we want to explore the opportunities and to see whether there will be opportunities for the Turkish real estate businesses and also the students and other professionals to start some projects in that area. Okay, so what is, there are so many problems that exist, but what are the few problems that can be actually addressed by blockchain technology? So I'm going to talk about that. One of the biggest problems in real estate industry that we face is the land registry. And the biggest thing here is that when you sell or buy a house, it takes a long time for the land registry to process those documents and transfer the land or the building from one name to another. And at the same time, there is insufficient information sometimes about the boundaries of the areas, and that leads to conflicts later on and different claims on the properties. And also the land registry does make a lot of mistakes in recording that information, so later on when you do the transfer again to someone else, there's a problem in the name or something else, and then those are some other issues that come up. So we'll see how, and I'll prove the point that blockchain can be used to exactly address this problem. The next problem is the double spend problem. Now, this might be more prominent in some of the countries, but when you sell a piece of land or maybe a house, there are some people who are kind of scammers, and they will show you one property, they sell it to one person, and they at the same time sell it to another person. Because it's an immovable property, it is still there. They can show it to different people and maybe sell it to 3 to 4 different people at the same time. So that's a double spend problem that exists. Another bigger problem is the renting problem, and we do have, I'm happy to know that we have so many speakers from the US, over the past few days. I thought I would be the only one, but it's good to have so many people. So yeah, I mean, in the US, we use different websites for renting apartments, especially when you are quick. So Craigslist is one of them. So what people do is that they will list a property. Hey, I've got an apartment to rent, and so the thing is that they don't own the apartment. They just put it, and you might be moving from another city, so you contact them, and they say, okay, if you can give me like, $200 deposit, I'll reserve the apartment for you. And you'd pay the deposit because you're in a hurry, and when you go there, there's nothing. So those scams are pretty common. And I'll prove that this problem can also be solved with the blockchain technology. Wire fraud is another bigger problem, $1.77 billion estimated in 2019. And what happens is that when you buy a house, you have to pay the down payment and the closing cost, and that is a significant amount of money, usually 20% of the total transaction cost. So what happens is that these scammers do have access to the deal information when you start purchasing the house, and they know that you already closed the deal. They will reach out to you by email and ask you to transfer the deposit and the down payment. And you might be transferring that money to the wrong person. So that problem can also be solved with the blockchain technology. And title insurance costs. So why do we have the title insurance? Because there are lots of problems associated with real estate. You buy a property, and later on, like a month or maybe a year later, somebody else comes and says, well, I have got a lien on this property. Or maybe like, I'm the brother of that seller, and when we jointly own that property, it's an inheritance. So what do you do with that? In order to avoid those situations, you buy a title insurance. And that costs a lot of money. The title insurance industry in the US is $26.5 billion. And that money is actually paid by the buyers to protect themselves. So we can have a solution to the title insurance through the blockchain industry. And also the valuation problems, like, real estate is very complicated to be evaluated. There are lots of variables like the location, the features, the rooms, the type of material that is being used. So you can use blockchain technology to somehow have a more concise evaluation. And fractional ownership. So when these big projects come up, like, they need big investors. Because the smaller investor, like if I have like $10,000, $15,000 to invest in a big project, I don't have the opportunity. So blockchain has a solution to provide that fractional ownership opportunity. It is something like you buy and sell shares of the company. It's very easy. With the click of a button, you can buy shares and you can sell shares. You will be able to buy real estate in the same manner. You just want to buy like 1% of a particular project, you can do that. Or maybe even smaller than that. The problem with independent records is, like, as I said before, when a deal is conducted, you have to have different records. Like, as an owner, I have my own documents. The title company has its own documents, a copy of the documents. In the land registry, the government institution, they also have their own copy. Sometimes what happens is that there is some problem in the records. Like, for example, in this particular example, I've shown that the name has been recorded incorrectly by the land registry. Now, what happens, that remains silent for quite some time, but when you sell your house and that record goes to the land registry again, when they say, well, we've got a different name here. So then what you do, you will have to spend a lot of time and energy and cost to correct the record first, and then you will be able to sell it. Okay. So due to the time constraint, I'll be a little quick, but what is blockchain? Blockchain is basically a record-keeping, document or a software. But the good thing with this technology, and I hope everybody has already heard about it, you might have, you already know about Bitcoin and, all those cryptocurrencies. The technology behind the Bitcoin is blockchain technology. But, cryptocurrency is just one particular use of the technology. There are so many numerous other uses of the technology. So what it does is that it is a distributed ledger system. So if there are like 5, 10 different players in a transaction, like I as the buyer, the seller, the government registry, the title company, everybody has the same record of the documents. Everybody has the same record of transactions and everything. So that is, and every transaction that takes place is recorded in terms of blocks, and it is highly secured. So the good thing is that everybody has the same information, and it is updated in real, almost in real time, within seconds or within minutes. Okay? So when I buy a property, it is automatically, if it is through the blockchain, it will be automatically within seconds updated with the land registry. So we don't have to worry about the land registry problems and stuff like that. And it is decentralized, so there's no one person that controls the data, and it is immutable. You cannot change it. The technology is in such a way that once something is recorded on the blockchain, you cannot delete it. Even in the bank, like when you record something and you have a wrong transaction, you can delete it, you go back and correct that. But once something is recorded on the blockchain, it cannot be deleted. So that is a very powerful feature of the system. And it is encrypted. So the transaction from one block to another is highly secured. And validation takes place through consensus. And what that means is that if I try to claim a property that is not mine, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the record on my system because I have access to the blockchain. But when I change the record on the blockchain at my end, it is sent to the blockchain for validation. Now, the majority of the blockchain server, and remember, these are not people, these are computer systems, they have to agree that I actually own the property. Now, if I have manipulated the record, I actually don't own the property. So the other nodes, the other systems will deny the transaction, and they will not approve it. So it is highly secure, and it will be denied within seconds. So you cannot change the records for that matter. And we call this blockchain because these blocks, these different transactions are connected in terms of blocks, so it is very hard to disconnect them. And it is like, that's why we call the blockchain is immutable. We cannot go into the details of those technical things, the hashing and the encryption thing, but just to let you know, it's highly secure technology. When a new block is added to the system, and what we mean by a new block being added, if I sell my property to someone else, that is another block added to the system. And the new block tells me that that property is not owned by me now, it is owned by someone else. And the process is something like that. We cannot go into more details, but new data is entered, the block is sent to the system, and all the nodes and that the blockchain will have to verify. Majority of them have to agree that the transaction is authentic and everything is correct. And when everything is verified, it is sent to the blockchain and it is added as a new block. Once it is added, it can never be changed. So that is a good thing about it. All right, so how can blockchain solve some of the real estate problems, for example, land registry? What are the biggest problems? Like, one of the things is that the records take longer to update in the traditional system. But with the blockchain system, those can be done within seconds. As soon as the transaction, as soon as the block is added, the land registry records are also updated instantaneously. And insufficient information, so once you create the initial block, you'll have to input all the data. Once that is recorded, it always stays there, so you never have the insufficiency of information. And mistakes is not a problem because you cannot commit a mistake. If I do a wrong transaction or maybe I record a wrong name, the blockchain system will not verify that transaction until it is corrected. So there's very less chance of error in that case. The double spend problem, like the scams and everything, so the example that I gave you earlier, if I have to rent an apartment from someone in another city, in New York, for example, and I'm in Washington, D.C., so what happens is that if I find that property on the blockchain, I for sure know that this person is the owner of the property. So there's no scam involved. They cannot. And similarly, if one property is sold by one person to another one, it is updated simultaneously within seconds on the system. So it cannot be sold to the next person at the same time. So we can avoid that problem, the double spend problem, through the blockchain technology. Wire frauds, at the same time, highly secured, and you know exactly where money is going to. You know the buyer, the seller, and all the data is very transparent, so that wire fraud problems can be covered. And because we buy the title insurance just to protect ourselves from potential claims, but if the property is already in blockchain and everything is transparent, so you don't probably need a title insurance in that case. Valuation of real estate can also be done through blockchain, through like a 100-point verified inspection record system. So you can also develop something in that area. Fractional ownership, the blockchain can be used to divide like a million or $1 billion property into like worth $10 each share. Each token, we call those tokens. And you can buy 1 token or 2 tokens in a very big investment property if you like the area. So it also gives you that opportunity. It's like shares trading of a $1 billion company, right, you know? Or a $1 trillion company. You can do the same with real estate. And also the independent records problem, because the blockchain is updated on all the systems at the same time, you cannot have different records on different systems. So it's always going to be the same record. What are some of the blockchain companies that are revolutionizing the industry? Ubiquity is probably one of the first ones. It is primarily for record keeping, like a land registry kind of system. And it provides very clean record of ownership. It reduces the future title search because the record is transparent, more transparency. And it is said that Ubiquity is probably the first company that used blockchain to transfer a property from one person to another. ManageGo is another blockchain-based company that can be used to manage your rental properties, like your repair work, your rental receipt, your other expenses, your taxes, and everything can be managed through ManageGo company. It is also based on blockchain. BlockSquare is actually a company that can be used to buy fractional ownership in a property. So you actually divide that company into different multiple tokens, and those can be bought and sold. SafeWire is used to transfer money safely when you buy the property and you have to make that initial deposit, for example. So that's another example, another company, couple of more. The nutshell is that blockchain is a new technology. It can solve a lot of the real estate problems that we face, and this is a new technology, it's just emerging, so all of those people who are in some way involved in the real estate, you can work to develop your own blockchain-based application to manage your own properties or maybe provide that service to others. First movers will always have an advantage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Ullah, for that presentation. I think that, as you rightly mentioned, blockchain is still very new, and also obviously the adaptation as well, it's a little bit slow, specifically from the real estate perspective as well. As you said, that there's a lot of benefits that blockchain can provide, specifically in developing countries as well as for emerging countries as well in the areas of land registration and so forth. So thank you for sharing those sort of very important and vital information to us. Okay, and on that note, we'll move on to the next presenter, Madam Sumaya.